Hello, and we're talking about this Taurus full moon, super full moon, and we also have Uranus returning back to Taurus just at the end of this week. So this week, I think, is going to be really intense for a lot of us. It doesn't have to be bad intense, but it's going to be a lot, I think. Because we have a lot happening in whatever house in your chart Taurus is sitting into. And so in my Substack article where I go through all of my themes and insights, I'm also break down by rising sign for my paid subscribers, what the theme is, reflection questions, and rituals. So I'll put the link below if you're curious about that. But here's, like I always say, you probably already know what house this is hitting based on the themes that are coming up for you right now. And I'll give you some hints. One, you might want to think about what was going on 6 months ago when we had a Taurus new moon, what seeds you were planting, what things you were thinking about, what you were potentially starting or setting the intention to embark on, as well as what was happening in June. What themes were coming up again? What were you thinking of that maybe, probably honestly, for the last few months have kind of disappeared from your consciousness, and now we're going to come back in with Taurus returning to Uranus, because we have this energy of this full moon that's really highlighting an area of our life where we may or may not be fully in our worth. We may not feel safe or secure or stable. We may not be fully enjoying all of our earthly pleasures in that area. And those are all the themes that Taurus brings up for us. And so as we're in a full moon energy, we're looking at what things are maybe solidifying. Like maybe, 6 months ago, we were like, okay, I'm going to start tracking my finances. I'm going to start, putting $25 away every week to a certain account. Maybe 6 months ago, we were like really going to be like on top of our meal planning and be like, okay, now these things that we were like, these structures that we were trying to implement and these strategies, right, to feel more stable, feel more consistent, feel more grounded in whatever that area of our life was, they're either rock solid right now, and we're looking at that and we're like, wow, look at what I did in those 6 months, and look at that thing that was maybe just like a vision or an idea crystallized and culminated in this moment, and now it's just like a habit, right? So maybe for you, this was a recent one for me, but I remember a few months ago, I decided I was going to try to do like these HIIT spinning classes to help, just sweat and help with my hormones and anxiety and stuff like that. And at first it was like so new, like, spotty or whatnot. And now it's become such a solidified way of being that I know on Tuesdays and Thursdays I go to this class, on Saturdays and Sundays I go to that class, and I have my routine. And so you're either going to be looking at that and say, okay, well, I can just acknowledge myself and celebrate the security and the consistency and the groundedness that I have created for myself in that area. Or if you find that something that's coming up again, you're like, I was really wanting to create a structure with this and create more of a sense of self-worth and safety and security, and it just didn't happen. Then we want to review it. We want to look at it and say, was there something, maybe it was a thought pattern, maybe it was a logistical thing, was there a block that was going on to this habit that I can now see clearly and release it so that I can create the space to now fully implement this security and structure or whatnot in my life that I'm really claiming. Or maybe we look back at that and we're like, I was trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. And actually, the reason I didn't, get it going, the reason it didn't really fully come to fruition is because it's maybe not aligned. Maybe it was a whim. Maybe it was an exciting idea. But with the wisdom I have from these past 6 months, I realize it's not for me, right? And either way could be what you're releasing in this Taurus full moon energy. And the reason why this is also really intertwined with Uranus coming back into Taurus is because I don't know, let's say it's like a test, but it's almost like you're going to see how you did. When Uranus left Taurus and went into Gemini at the beginning of July, whatever this area of your life, you probably felt the attention pull back on it, right? And Uranus comes back the end of this week in that same area that's illuminating under this full moon, right? In your life. And you have this energy of surprise and chaos and instability, and it doesn't have to be bad. So I don't want to scare you, but Uranus is like an unpredictable energy. So I kind of think about my baby, right? Where, he could be laughing and giggling and he's running around the house and he's playing by himself, he's occupying himself, and then it could just immediately switch and all of a sudden he just wants to be held, or all of a sudden, he is really hungry and wants to eat whatever I'm making or whatnot. And so it's like this energy that can kind of like push and pull you in all these directions in this area of your chart that the full moon is illuminating. And I think that's why this Taurus full moon is kind of prepping us just a couple days before we have Uranus move into Taurus again, of how is your security and stability and structures going in this area so that you are handling the winds as they can come and go, the highs and the lows, and the surprise joys and the surprise sadnesses that might come up from that really centered, grounded Taurian place, right? And how do we do that? Well, we built structures both, energetically and practically. So it is about looking like, is there a level of unworthiness in this area? Is there part of me that doesn't feel valued or is not honoring my values in this area? Is there a part of me that doesn't feel safe or secure in that area? And what can I do to remedy that? And it's going to be unique to all of us. So, for instance, if you're someone that's like looking for love in a relationship, and you're dating other people, and maybe sometimes you get really excited about someone and it goes good for a bit, or sometimes it's just like a dud off the bat. You're having these highs and these lows, and the title that I did of my Substack article was Trust the Process. Why? Because when we build that Taurian security and structure in whatever area of our life that's getting hit with these ups and downs and unpredictable energy, chaos, we can trust the process if we feel safe and secure and worthy in ourselves. If you're feeling, secure, enjoying the process, enjoying those earthly Taurian pleasures, and you're steady in yourself, then you can weather the storm that dating is. You can deal with the highs and the lows, and you can trust that, when it's the right person, it'll work, right? If you're dealing with it in, your second house of finances, right? If you have built, how it could be looking at, do I have a good emergency fund or retirement plan? How consistent is my income? How are my expenses? It's looking at the practical side of it and saying, do I have a structure here that can weather a big expense? Or do I have a structure here that makes me feel secure? Because it's both. Both you're dealing with like the practicality of what life's going to throw at you, but also and that's where it gets really specific, right? It gets really individual, because for someone, feeling secure might be just, knowing that they have a job and they have a regular income coming in every 2 weeks, and that alone makes them feel safe and secure. And they can weather kind of the highs and lows of expenses or whatever that might be thrown at them. Whereas someone else might be like, I need to see X thousands of dollars in a bank account as an emergency fund, specifically set aside for a rainy day, to feel fully secure. And it's just about honoring, what is true for you. Same thing in, energetically, it could be leaning into, do I feel worthy of having that savings account, whatever that number is? Do I feel worthy of having that consistent income? Do I feel like my time or my energy or whatever what I'm doing is valued by the energetic financial exchange, right? So it's bringing up all of these themes, and like I said, they're really bouncing off each other. And this Taurus full moon comes in to say, hey, just a reminder, in a couple days, you're going to have this energy back into your chart, and it's going to be back into this part of your chart until early 2026. So for a few months before it leaves for good. But this is going to kind of, in a way, I think could be a final test of, did you build a structure in this area that can allow you to weather whatever ups and downs come, that can allow you to really sink into true safety and true security? Because, the way the world works, it's like, it doesn't really matter if you have a 9-to-5 job, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're married, or you're dating, right? Things can change in an instant. And that's what Uranus reminds us of, both good and bad. And I actually went through this in my substack, some of the good ones, right? Because sometimes we think about Uranus and we get scared, and we don't want to be in a place of fear right now. We don't want to be, when we're in a place of fear, we're in a place of lack, or we're in a place of stress and worry, we're not going to make the best action plan. We're not going to create the best structure for us, right? Because we want to create it from that place of self-worth, that place of self-value, that place of abundance, that place of trust and knowing, right? And so I don't, you guys probably, your mind already populates the bad things, right? But the good things I like to focus on is that things can change in an instant, also in a really good way. So I think about some of the biggest things in my life, whether it was getting my first book deal, it was just unexpected. On a random Tuesday, I get an email from a publisher saying, hey, one of my authors is a huge fan of you, and we were talking about doing some sort of wellness smoothie juice book or whatever. Have you ever had any ideas for a cookbook? Shoot them my way. And there was Eat With Intention, right? One of the other ones, obviously, my husband. Random day, not really even in the mood for dating at the time. I was a month or so out of a breakup, but I was on the apps, and slides in, messages me. Happens to suggest going to dinner at a restaurant that I really wanted to check out. And so it's these little kind of mini moments that can change anything. You could get an email right now from your boss asking, if you'd be interested in a promotion. I've been thinking about you for this. You could get an email from, your, the, I don't know, you can get an email from that client you've been really wanting to book saying signed and paid, You could have, something, a check come in the mail that you didn't expect, right? There are all sorts of magical ways that things can come to you. So I want you to embrace that energy too. Like, anything's possible. You might have something really magical and fun come in this last, little sector of Uranus and Taurus in your house. So I'd like us to connect to that energy, and because that energy is really magnetic and attractive and way more productive than worrying about the bad. But simultaneously, see this as this is your final semester project. What structure do you need to set up for yourself? What structure do you need to create internally, emotionally, spiritually, to truly feel safe and secure in this house as we step into 2026? Because just because Uranus will leave Taurus and go into Gemini, yeah, are you going to feel some relief in this area? Yeah, totally. But wouldn't it be really nice to feel that relief because you've really anchored and grounded in your trust and your self-worth and your value and your innate security in this area, right? I think so, right? All right, well, let me know if this resonated with you below. As always, if you enjoyed this, please click subscribe. It really does make a difference to support all the videos and the content I create. And of course, I want to invite you to join me on Substack. I am sharing a lot, and like I said, if you join my paid subscriber, which is super affordable, you can also get access to those individual rising sign predictions and rituals and reflection questions. So I'm excited to share that with you as well. And I'll also put my info below if you're feeling like this full moon, this structure that you're craving to create with Taurus, if you'd like your own sacred structure insights. It's an audio recording of me where I go through your astrology and your human design chart based on the form you're going to fill out about what your goals, your priorities, your obligations are in this season. And I'm going to show you how to structure your day and your week and really get in tune with your own energy and rhythms. And of course, if there's a certain area of your life that you're really focusing on right now with this Taurus area of your life, let me know and we'll dive deep into some of the structures that you can build, both earthwise and energetically. So I'll put that link below. And just a reminder, when you book that, it's going to show up as you're booking a session on a Sunday. It's really just for it to anchor into my calendar. You will get your recording within 3 days of booking, as well as a beautiful PDF that breaks down all of the placements in your chart that I was looking at, so you can kind of reference it, as well as the recording, obviously, that I'm going to be custom channeling for you. So you can replay it and keep those ideas and start building that structure that's going to make you feel safe and secure. Thanks for being here. Mwah.